So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's information session for Cambridge Certificate in EMI Skills. This session is held on behalf of Southern Regional Resources Center for Bilingual Education, and this project to provide Cambridge EMI online course is funded by the Ministry of Education. And we are today's hosts. Tasha Tan, she has been corresponding with you, and I'm Hongling Wu. We are the administrative assistants from the Teaching and Learning Development and Resources Center of NSYSU. And this is the agenda for the next hour. The director of our center, Sherry, will give you an opening remark. Then the Cambridge representative, Joanna, will give an introduction to the courses. For the next part, two professors who have completed the courses will share with their thoughts, respectively Dr. Yuhui Zhang and Dr. Zhixiu Hong. And then I will give some reminders regarding the requirement that you have to meet to get a deposit. After that, we will answer your question, if there is any. So let's welcome Sherry, the director of our Teaching and Learning Development and Resources Center, to give us an opening remark.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Dear colleagues and professors, I'm Shuchen Sherry O. And on behalf of the NSYSU, I'm here welcoming you all. And the Cambridge online course certificates in EMI skills for this run have begun since May 13th. And we have more than 60 teachers, from our partner universities participant in this course this time. So there are quite many, quite many of you. And we hold this information session in order to explain this funding project and help you better understand this course, And this project, just mentioned, is funded by the Ministry of Education Taiwan and enforced by Southern Regional Resource Center for Bilingual Education, 南区 EMI 资源中心, to support Southern Regional faculty in developing their EMI skills. To ensure that participants could complete the course in time, we have received a deposit from you. But please don't worry, as long as a requirement is met, all deposit will be refunded. Details will be elaborated later by our assistant. So because time is precious, we just have 1 hour today. So now I would like to save time for the following presenters. The first one I would like to introduce is Joanna, Joanna is the Business Development Manager of Cambridge Assessment English in Taiwan. And she is going to give us an introduction to the course certificate in EMI skills. I believe that many of the teachers have started taking this course already, but we are still very pleased to have Joanna to give us a thorough overview so that you can have deeper understanding of the course. And of course, if you have any question, I think this is a good opportunity for us to propose our question and get feedback as well, right? So now let's welcome Joanna. Hi, Joanna.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you for having me. So I just want to, first of all, explain who we are. We're Cambridge Assessment English. But if you have joined our webinar on May 19th, there are videos showing that now we're Cambridge. We have merged with Cambridge University Press to be one big organization to serve teachers and students. And we are part of University of Cambridge. And what we do aligns with the vision of the university. We hope to share with the world, what we have in terms of education, learning, and research, and in a way to give back. This is kind of our vision to help students, people learn English, and once they learn English, to prove it to the world. We have everything in every level. every step of the way, from young to something quite professional. So these are what we do. For example, there's a CEQ is a leveled English test, level according to CEFR, level by level, as a four skills test. EMI is under Cambridge English Teaching, where we have different offerings for teachers, as teachers are very important for us, obviously. LinguaSkill is an online test with learning, listening and reading as one module, speaking as one module, writing as one module. Is online and adaptive, meaning that the questions will change according to the student's answer. So it's very flexible to use it as a proof of English level. OET is specifically for the medical field. It's really interesting. It's also for skills. And for example, the oral test is according to their situation, meeting a patient. So that's a very interesting test. And IELTS, we are the test designers. We write the questions, we write the test, while British Council and IDP, they deliver the test. So everything we do has something to do with CEFR. And now I think that's very common for all the teachers in Taiwan, and in the bilingual program, in the BEST program, right, that you all are in. B2 is kind of like the new benchmark for a lot of students if they want to pursue having kind of like a stamp as having bilingual capability, right? So we're all working towards that. And so back to our Cambridge English Teaching, what we hope to do is to give teachers confidence to go further. EMI, I call it kind of the Clio of higher education, and it helps improve teaching quality, and it supports internationalization, which is the whole objective of this Taiwan 2030 program, right? Bilingual program. And those who go through it, we hope that it will be able to use English more effectively, and especially improving the skills and delivering instruction in English, which is kind of the core of EMI classes. And you'll learn a variety of learning language options with different teaching situations. There are a lot of phrases, vocabulary specifically for that. And I've heard a lot of teachers saying that they find it very useful, very practical. And this is for teaching staff in higher education, especially for those teachers who English is not their native language. It can be online or blended. If you make it blended, I'll explain it a little bit. We recommend the English level for any participants to be at least B1 and above, as it is in all English, videos and writings and things like that. There are 8 modules, module by module, and the time we estimate is an average is about 40 hours. So it's not a long course. And we also provide 20 hours face-to-face material, meaning that if you do have a teacher or a leader to lead some discussion, which I highly recommend, then there are already some material right there for the leader to use. They don't have to create on their own. So as mentioned, the course content itself is based on language that participant will probably use in the range of interactions with students. And it actually covers grammatical structures, vocabulary, and communicative phrases. So some teachers said it's kind of like a review of what you've learned before, but it is useful, especially the phrases that, again, you can directly use, bring it into your classrooms. And these languages is to focus on improving communication and student interaction. And I'm very happy to hear that there were teachers who said so. Their feedback said that it improved their student interaction. And engaging contents, all the videos are actually footage directly from Cambridge University. And there are a range of interactive activities, which I'll show in a little bit. And also, it covers different teaching styles and skills, etc. And there's an assignment. I'll mention it again later about this too. So as discussed, there are 8 modules. Each of them have specific themes. And so average, it will be about 5 hours per module. Everybody is different. So that's why such a course is flexible. It can be, you can be going according to your own pace. I have heard of teachers going through it in a month, which I was shocked, to be honest. That's a lot of material to go through in a month. I would recommend either 4 months or 8 months, because it's easy to remember, right? 8 modules. If you do it in 4 months, then you finish 2 modules per month. That's still challenging, but it's doable. If you do 8 months, then 1 module per month. Then if you just separate, kind of like set aside 2 hours per week, then you can do it very in a more relaxing way. So again, this everybody is different. Some teachers just say, I want to do it all together because it helped the teacher more focus and to get it all done. So that's the great thing. You can do it according to your own style. So each module, you'll see about 6 sessions. You'll see the S1 and the S2 to S5. S1 is kind of like introduction. And then the main content part will be broken down to S2 to S5. And each of these S, which is sessions, is further broken down into smaller lessons. So first of all, I encourage you to finish at least each lesson as a 1 unit. And then there's a last session, S3, which is a final review and test section. I'll talk about it in a little bit again, but that's the main breakdown. So you can see, for example, in module 1, is language for lectures. So you'll see different lecture styles, how to introduce a lecture, signposting, and then also concluding a lecture. I've also heard of another teacher share that, she is an English language teacher. She's quite good with introducing a lecture and then the content of it, but she has forgotten maybe how to conclude a lecture. So since she has done this course, she has added that part, the conclusion, to wrap up and to kind of like see how students are doing, whether they received it, all the instruction or content well. So for her, it has helped her with the own structure of each of her lesson. And so you can put that into use right away too. If you go into the account itself, you'll see something like this, right? So you can choose all these module, and then you will see also scoring packages, 14. So in module 1, there are 14 small little sessions, and you can see that this is what I did. I did 2 out of 14. So it's very clear in the with a record of how much you have done, what you have done. It is not you don't have to go through in sequence. So in a way, you can choose the module that you find more urgent. You really want to do that first, and then you can put something aside and do it later. It doesn't have to go in order. And you can just have to check back and make sure that you have completed all of them. And you can see that clearly with all these records too. And you'll see many different types of engaging content, for example, something like that. With the content itself, as mentioned, there are videos. Sometimes you listen to the video first and then you answer the questions. Sometimes it can be pre-listening that they ask you some questions, and you just choose accordingly. So, and these are please make sure that these are drag and drop, because there were teachers who said that they weren't aware of it. For example, this one, you play and listen to it first. You can pause it anytime you play it. After that, then you kind of do a matching. So you drag, for example, this one to the example 1. So after you match everything, then you submit. So there are many different styles, like multiple choice. That's the most common one. True or false. Just mentioned matching drag and drop. Gap fill drag and drop, like this one is a gap fill drag and drop. So you choose the one that you think is the answer, and then you drag it down to the blank. And then there's ordering, and sometimes you might be actually typing. So it makes it, hopefully with a variety, easier to go through. And I mentioned that there are assignments, right? So assignment is, in a way, is optional. It doesn't count for the grade itself, but I highly recommend it. This is kind of the essence of Cambridge teaching is there's always a target of what the participants should be learning. And then there'll be some exercise practices and things like that. And at the end, we hope that the teacher or the participant will actually use it in their own way. That's when you kind of like make it your own. So that's why I meant, this is to encourage you to use the target language or skills in your own context. So for example, you've seen the video in Cambridge, you have gone through the content. Then in your own teaching context in Taiwan, how will you put that in? And they hope that you can use it and then make it your own. And after completing the assignment, you will see a summary. So there is no right or wrong answer, and there's no grading in it. But there'll be a summary for you to compare. For example, you probably should have gone through some of these main points, that you should have covered all of that. That way you can at least have something to gauge. I will also encourage, if you do have discussion sessions, this is a part that you can bring into discussion. Like for example, this module, what did you write? Or you can even do little mini demos sessions to show each other and then discuss and give feedback. If you've heard of CELTA, that's kind of how CELTA works. So you learn something and then you actually use it, you demonstrate it, and other people can give feedback. That will be kind of taking this course to the fullest. And I'm sure that will really make it more useful also. And I think I've heard of some university have done that. So there is also an assessment. So you can see at the end of a module, you will complete, I've done a few, maybe 30 questions or more. And then there will be a grade at the end, right? 96% or something like that. And I've heard of teachers being concerned about it, asking me, is there a test? But please don't worry. This is not to test you. This is more to review and make sure that the content are well absorbed. Assessment, right? Assessment is to show, possibly to find out what you have learned, what you might not have learned, and maybe go back to review it. And that's really the whole point of it. So you can actually see, you can actually review, go back and look at it afterwards, which one you made correct and which one is incorrect. Then you can think again. If there are questions, maybe that's the part that you can bring into discussion. Why do you think this is the answer and not the other one? I've heard of some subject teacher asking their language teacher's counterpart and then discussing, why is this a better answer? So you can actually also have a new attempt. So you can see that, grade for attempt 1 is 50%. I've also heard of several teachers saying that the first time they did it, they were shocked. How can I get 50%? Back to becoming a student. But in a way, I think it is a good experience. It's good to make mistakes. I want to encourage all the teachers. And if you can bring that with your student, it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not get it the first time. The point is really, to find out which is the part that you might have missed out. Right. So if you encourage that with your students, I think it will also help the atmosphere of the student. It will help students to be more willing to speak up, especially to use English in class. And then with the second attempt, then maybe you get 100%. So the grading method is the highest, picking up the highest attempt. So again, it's up to you whether to have a new attempt or not. But basically, to be able to download the e-certificates at the end, you need 90% completion of the content and 80% of an average grade. So again, as long as you make that effort, then you definitely will be able to reach that. And I'm sure the content itself is not too difficult, but it's just a matter of focusing. So like I said, the teacher who said, what, I got 50%, then he started getting serious about it and really look more carefully through the content. So that's a good thing, right? And then you can also, there's a tip that's given by other teachers too. You will see some plots with transcripts, meaning that you can download the transcripts of some of the listening parts. Or some of the videos. So for some teachers, they still felt like they do hear different accents in the course, but they do also feel still less comfortable with more of a British accent. So having the transcript helps them to be more sure about what was covered, what was shared, but in those videos. And so that's something that you can also make use of. And another teacher also shared that afterwards she will also read out loud the transcript part as her own practice too. So as mentioned, we encourage a blended method. This is purely an online course, but again, we have provided some tutor material. If there is a tutor for leading discussion, I think it's always better if afterwards there can be a discussion of, you know, what everybody think is useful or not, the most effective part, or if there's some questions for discussion. So this is just a suggested schedule. Again, everybody's different. It doesn't have to be one way or the other. So for example, this is one of the most successful case in Taiwan. They're the first one who told me that they asked the teachers to finish in 4 months. At first I was a little shocked. I'm like, wow, that's quite aggressive. But they're like, well, it's just like one semester, right? Just like with their student, one semester. So if you complete it within 4 months, 8 modules, easiest to remember is to finish 2 modules per month. So you just break it down for yourself. And I really encourage you to do it kind of like break it down weekly, so it's not like too heavy or too much time in one go. But again, some teachers actually prefer that way. So it's totally up to you. And this is just to share a bit that this is shared by our director of language research, that, you know, EMI is a spectrum, right? You can start from ELT, English Language and Teaching, which is kind of like the freshman English or sophomore English, and then there's soft Clio, and then there's hard Clio, and then there's EMI. So even for EMI, is there a subject course in English learning context, or is a completely English speaking context? So whether this is one or the other, again, I encourage universities to discuss among yourselves, you know, what is your EMI approach? What is the language skills of the students? And then what is the methodology? There are different levels, right? Again, these are just suggested. For example, if you want the course to be delivered entirely in English, and then the student English probably need to be about B2 to C2, meaning that it is completely 100% English environment with the students speaking English too. If it is mostly in English, then the student can be reasonably at B2. And if it's a policy level, again, meaning that maybe you decide there's a 70%. I have heard of MLB giving like some percentage, but again, I would encourage everyone to discuss. We had really good discussion, though short, in our webinar, like I said, on May 19th. You know, whether there are a lot of questions from teachers saying that what if the student's level is not there? Does it have to be all English, all in one go? You know, I was a teacher before, and my class was speaking, is to teach them speaking for freshmen and sophomore. So when they are discussing, I have them set up with, you know, for example, one is a presentation, a group presentation, and then another is a debate, and the last one is one person presentation on their own. So when they're discussing in group presentation, then I encourage them to use English, but I won't enforce it because it might be easier for the communication. But obviously when they get up on stage, then they have to use English, but they also have chances to ask me questions. I can help them with it. So again, there are many different ways of doing this. And there are other different issues to think about. For example, what is objective? Again, every school might be different in your objective of what you want to achieve, or how long it takes you to achieve. Should there be stage 1, stage 2, stage 3? Should your classes be actually by level of, you know, so that students with similar levels will be in the same class? Are there translanguaging? Do you allow L1 or translanguaging? That's actually a big issue. Or what our Director of Thought Leadership, Nick Saville, said, plural lingualism, having many different languages. and how do you kind of like, you can discuss how do you allow that, again, whether there should be stages of this and things like that. And then what is a supporting language development? What is the role of the teacher? And is there what kind of assessment will there be? So there are many different issues to think about, but I hope that, with the EMI course, it will give all the teachers kind of like a basic level of common understanding. When everybody has the same understanding of what an EMI class look like, then there can be discussion further of what is specifically for your school. How should EMI look like for Zhongshan University, and then maybe it might look different with Kaohsiung Medical College, right? University. So we just hope that this can be a really good start. And again, as mentioned, after finishing 90% of the completion of 90% of content and about an 80% of the grade of those assessment or practices, then you can download this e-certificate of completion. The assignment is not part of the grade. So these are just some feedback from teachers. It's user-friendly, practical, a lot of rich information. It's online, so you can do it at your own pace. A lot of good phrases and expression we can use. A lot of examples are useful, and it's good takeaways, directly use them in lecture. One teacher actually said she liked it that the answer questions, if it's incorrect, then the clue sometimes pops up and guides to the correct answer. So there's a path of discovery to the actual answer, not just yes, or like you correct or incorrect, and that's it. So again, most teachers find it useful. I'm really looking forward to hearing more sharing from the other two teachers. It's always a pleasure to hear that. So basically, this is my sharing. Is there any questions that I can answer at this point?
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna, for your sharing. Very detailed. Yeah. But I think that it's a little bit running out of time. I would prefer to have the Q&A in the very final. Okay, in the very final session. Yeah. So
Let me
our
share
next.
first.
Yes, thank you. So our next presenter will be Dr. Zhang Yuhui. Okay. Yeah. So we invited two speakers who have already finished this certificate to share their experience with us. Okay. So the first one will be Dr. Zhang Yuhui. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I didn't expect that we're going to speak English here. If you prefer me sharing my experience in Chinese, I think I'm happy to, or you can address your questions. I can also answer that in Chinese. But I'll ask Jiahui, could you help me share the slides if possible? It's actually just some screenshots from my perspective. But it just give you a sense about what will be the process looks like if you enroll in, and then a quick feedback for listening to Joe sharing about the length of complete the course. The average will be 4 to 8 months. I really I totally agree with that, because in my case, begin with my certificate course from February until the end of April, because I have to catch up by the deadline, which is May 10th. So it's roughly like 3 months, which is for me a little bit intense. So I highly recommend take your time for 4 to 8 months. That sounds more reasonable. But however, in my case, is that here we have the reward to compensate the fee. So that's a reason I have to catch up by the early May. So it's only 3 months. And this is again, Joe has shared these. So as at the beginning of the February, I felt that it's pretty easy PC, that it looks like only 8 modules. I probably can handle 2 modules or 2 to 3 modules per month. But what I didn't expect that is there's the package takes longer than I think to complete one module. But I don't want to scare you away, because each module, especially as for the beginner, when you begin to click on those questions, and also you are in a new online environment in this module, take yourself some extra time to get familiar with these buttons. So it might take you longer than you think in module 1, but it definitely will get sooner and faster that you complete module 2 and 3 and following. So I do feel a little struggling, like in February, March, I only can complete module 1, 2, and 3 maybe. So that's my early progress. I'm kind of couldn't catch up my timeline as I set up for at the beginning. I think it was 2 to 3 hours for the module 1, but for me it's getting tired. Yes, and this slide is just, that's why I would like to share you the pay attention with there's several little activities. And again, I don't want to scare you away. And instead, I will say that a lot of them are topics, a lot of them like slides. You go through that slides, you complete that activities. So not each activities will give you a quiz or will give you a lot of tasks need to complete. Even with those little activities, with the little quiz or task, or you will get there to find a way to make you answer that faster. So I will say that the first 4 module might scare you away because of time consuming, or you have your personal life and work and balance. So it could be the time constraint that you couldn't move forward and then you give up. And I want to remind everyone that that's not a good way to give up, is that trying to find a way to stay there. So I like how Joe reminded us is that there's no sequence. You might want to pick the topic that you like first. I think that will be a better strategy, so you won't stuck in the module 1 or 2. And I will say that the first 4 module is more like a classroom interaction. They are really practical and useful. And after the module 4, I think, yes, okay. Maybe I'll have Jiahui go through the next slide, please. So I can, using this as one example. So this is one point I would like to share, like how teachers find it useful. So instead of trying to catch up yourself to finish all the module ASAP, which we really want to save our time, but try to find some meaningful way to sustain your interest and engage yourself in. For example, try to find some practical and helpful topic like this, language for small group and practical. And here, as we are in the EMI era right now, we are so struggling to find a way to engage students during the class. So some language, some reminders, the way how we can say, feedback, respond. There are some scenario we can practice. So for example, module 3 and module 4 and module 6 are really practical, what I see here in the EMI. The next slide, I think, is also one example about module 4. I'll ask Jiahui, move on next one. This is a one interface when you are in the when you are trying to complete a course. There you are tracking how many lesson activities you are moving forward, and you are trying to match in the answer so you can complete. It's roughly in each lesson, roughly like 10 to 20 questions that you're going to complete. But those questions just help you understand some language. But here I would like to offer one tips, is that you all are teachers with many teaching experience already. You can use your teaching insight to select the answers at the first. So you don't have to wait until you go through all the materials. That's by that said, is that for those of you who want to save some time to complete all the modules, it's actually these modules and materials are practical based and also practice. 它是可以让你很直觉的。如果有教过课的老师们，你们可以先去预想，身为一个老师在教的时候，你会想怎么回。那通常你的直觉回答都是很正确的。So that's what I'm saying is that 有些老师可能会担心说要看了很多影片或课程才能来做测验或回答，但是其实你们的教学经验应该是足以让你们先用直觉先去练习回答。那如果真的有错，我刚刚有打在视窗里，还有刚刚就也提醒了，有些老师他会吓到，为什么他按完了整个 activity 才67分？那他们就会觉得要再花时间再 redo again。可以，我觉得如果时间够，老师们都可以在back to the first front page， 他们有一个 attempt， 就是你尝试要再回答，重新做一次整个 activities。你可以 first you review the answers that you was incorrect. Then you get to know more, understand better, and then you redo activities and with a faster speed. So that also saves some time too if you want to get a better grade. However, throughout the module, is actually basically each module 有太多活动单元了。如果你觉得你的时间没有办法重新再去做一遍的话，可以先完成每一个主要的 module， 然后再去选择哪一些是你还想要再 redo 的。So there are some different strategies that can help you move forward to complete a module. But the purpose is that I think you can pay attention to a topic that you think that's really most useful to you and then redo that again. So that can help you really apply that in the classroom. I think that's mainly my sharing in my 10 minutes. Feel free to email me about some more practical tips because it turns out that with that together fee sponsored by the school that have to squeeze my time for the 8 modules within 3 months. So that's really intense. Sometimes I have to complete that module between like 10 p.m. to 1 a.m. something like that. It's before my sleep. Or a morning or an early morning like 9 to 12. But it's also take some energy out. It's pretty tired or low. So don't burn you out. Maybe try to finish 1 or 2 activities per day. That could be a good strategy too. But my strategy is pretty straightforward. I want to complete 1 module. I'll block a time and complete 1 module. And I feel okay and I'm pretty hot in my mind and fingers too. So I can continue click another module and finish that in another 2 hours. So stay there. So don't give up doing the modules and try to find the topic I think are really useful to you. I think that's my honest feedback. Thank you, Jerry.
All right, thank you, Dr. Zhang, sharing with us some tips, okay, and encouragement. Thank you so much. And we still have one more presenter to share her experience with us. Dr. Hong Zhixiu from Kaohsiung Medical University.
Okay, thank you for Professor O's introduction. I'm Zhixiu Hong from School of Nursing, Kaohsiung Medical University. First of all, I could like to thank you for Sun Yat-sen University to offer me this opportunity to share my experience in learning the Cambridge Certificate in EMI Skills online course. As a teacher, we used to deliver our lecture in Chinese as a medium of instruction. However, English as a medium of instruction is a very hard issue recently. So when we change from CMI to EMI, it is a big challenge. And so we need to get some skills and we need to prepare ourselves. So I tried to attend several conferences. Finally, I found the Cambridge Certificate in EMI Skills online course is very useful for me. Joe just mentioned about this. We got the certificate in EMI skills. We will be able to use English more effectively. We will improve our skills in delivering instruction in English. And We will learn a variety of language options for different teaching situations. So the EMI Skills online course cover 8 modules, just Joe said about that, and such as lectures, seminars, small groups, and practical sections, tutorials and supervision, online communication, evaluation and feedback, developing and extending professional roles, and fulfilling professional responsibilities. Those are language related to our academic activities. So now I will take some examples to show you what I learned about the skills or phrases to be used in academic activities from the EMI online course. For the tutorials or supervision, we have our students' presentation or we have their essays. We must to emphasize students' stress before we give them suggestions. So the phrases are very useful from the EMI online course, such as we can tell the students, it is a good start. You have improved the analysis section. I'm impressed by your clear argument. Or you need to work on your conclusion. Or don't forget to reference. And the online communication, we can use online lecture or online group discussion because now during the COVID-19 pandemic, so this is very common for us to use frequently. And one part I like to emphasize is about email, because email is a formal document, but usually we did not write in a formal format. So I learned from the online course, if we write an email, we should involve 5 key criteria. So after I learned that, right now I can write formal emails. And these 5 factors, I just leave you to learn because you are going to learn the online course. And the other one is about the job interview. We know someone will change their job from one university to another university. So during the job interview, some of us could be as an interviewer, and some of us should be maybe as an interviewee. So if you are interviewer, what do you ask to the interviewee? The phrases such as, what courses have you taught before? Or what type of research have you done? Or give an example of a challenge you overcome recently. So these are very practical and useful. If you are the interviewee, how do you respond to those questions? So go back to study the online course. You will get a useful and good resources to answer those questions. And regarding the international conference, actually we have so many experience to attend the international conference. And during the events, maybe we meet someone from the other country and we want to introduce ourselves, such as, nice to meet you, my name is Zhi Hong. Or when we meet several people together, but some of them did not get familiar with each other, we can say, hi, John, can I introduce you to Mary? Mary, this is John. So see, those phrases are so useful for us to remember. So when I start here, I always practice and practice. Sometimes I need to take a note. And if we like to know someone else in the conference, what their thought about the events, we can ask them, have you seen any good talks? And after the conversation finished, we will say goodbye to each other. These 2 phrases is good, so I remember it. Please have my car and stay in touch. Oh, I haven't a business card, but I can give you my contact details. So I just mentioned about the useful and practical phrases and skills we can use. And now I will go back to say about how can we have a effective learning from the online course. After I went through this process, from this learning process, I found 3 criteria is very important for me. The first one is time management, and the second one is arrangement for learning environment. And the last one is we should have motivation for receiving a certificate. Taking myself as an example, for the time management, actually the course is lasts for about 3 months, but I base my daily routine and I give my own objective. I want it to be completed in 2 months. So the total, Joe just, this one, Joe just mentioned, there are total 40 hours for this program. So if I want to complete it in 8 weeks, intends that I should study 1 hour per 1 hour per working days. So it is 1 week for 1 modules. And regarding the environment, that's based on our personal behavior. Maybe like someone like to study at the school, office, or at home. For me, I like to study at the school office. And based on my psychological status, I prefer study in the morning. Morning is much better for me. So all those concern is I want to myself to be concentrate for study and decrease all the interruption. So I will turn off my telephone and I will lock the door so I can study and focus and have the best outcome. And because summer vacation is coming, I suggest you may take advantage of this about 2 months long to have a time and study this program. Since the online course is very helpful and is useful because it breaks our learning into small parts and it offers pre, during, and post activities to support our learning. So actually, I was so excited when I finished 1 module. I like to check my study outcome. So the study outcome involving listen comprehension, speech, reading, and writing. If the score is under my expectation, I will go back to review the part and retake the test until I'm satisfied with the score. So look, I got the certificate. So finally, I encourage you, just do it. I believe you can complete it and receive a certificate in EMI Skills. Thank you and good luck. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for Professor Hong's sharing. Okay, yeah, the real and the very sincere sharing of your real experience. Okay, which I believe that it is useful for most of our participants. All right. So next, I will have the assistant. Okay, to give you some information on the course plan. Okay.
Thank you for both professors sharing. We got a lot of valuable ideas and tips. And now let me share with you some notification as a reminder with regard to the progress we suggest to follow so that you can successfully retrieve the deposit you paid when registered in this course. And so this is our schedule. And since the course fee is funded by the Ministry of Education, we want to make sure that participants can all successfully complete the course. And that's why we receive the deposit from you. And we'll set a deadline, and here's the exact schedule. Today is the orientation, and during the course, and there are 16 weeks, participants are expected to complete at least one module in 2 weeks. And we have been sending you a reminder for the course progress. You must have received them by our assistant Tasha. And after the course, we in the future we'll hold a meeting to share your experience. And here's the example for the progress arrangement. In the first 4 weeks since May 13th, and for example, you are expected to complete 2 modules, and another 4 weeks, another 2 modules, and so on and so forth. If you follow this progress, you shall be able to meet the deadline, which is on September 2nd. And we will all keep tracking the progress for you. You will receive more reminders from Tasha. As for the qualification to get a certificate, there are only 2 requirements. You have to complete 90% of the course and get the grade, average grade above 70. And as is mentioned, you can try again and again. And this part is the steps to get a refund. And the first requirement is, of course, you have to complete 19% of the course with an average grade above 70. And most importantly, before September 2nd. And second, please download the e-certificate and send us your e-certificate, your ID number, or your residence certificate number. And third, and your bank account. And regarding your bank account, please provide a detailed name or code of the post office branch or bank branch. Or you can just send us the picture of your front cover of your bank book. And if you apply for your post office or bank account with residence certificate, please also provide the residence certificate number you used to apply for this account. We make it clear just in case you got a new residence certificate number, but you haven't updated your bank account. And third, if you are using a post office, bank, or town account, and you can get $30 fee free. And please contact Tasha to get a refund. And she has been corresponding with you. And here is her email.